Hey, we're going live here in a couple minutes. We are going to be talking with Matthew Silverman from Silverman Consulting. He is the fiduciary marketer. He is a no BS. This is how it is. This is how stuff will actually work, marketing. So if you want to actually get some really good no BS advice on digital marketing and get a great perspective of somebody who really knows this stuff, hang on. In a couple minutes, we'll be right back. Let's do this. Welcome to the Never Been Promoted podcast and YouTube channel. I'm on a mission to help you cut the time to all the things that are holding you back so you can unleash your entrepreneur. Welcome back to Never Been Promoted. Hi, I'm Thomas Helfrich. I am your host today, and every day for that matter, of this wonderful show. I think it's wonderful. I can say that because I started it. But here's the thing. We're going to talk about further ways to kind of cut the tie to all the shit that's holding you back, to help you be more successful, to help you become a better entrepreneur. It's hard to do. Everybody knows it. You know, if you can learn a little bit from our guests, something their journey, something they're doing today, you'll take the direction and the steps you'll need to get better at entrepreneurship. I know I learned tons from these things. And quite honestly, I didn't want to pay for coaching. So I said, let's just do a podcast and let's bring people on so I can learn one thing. And I got to be selfish here. It's great. So I want you to be selfish too. But I'm excited to have the conversation today with Mr. Matthew Silverman. He's a founder of Silverman Consulting, digital marketing, no BS. Sometimes in marketing, marketing people sometimes they just make up the answer because they're marketing people. Let's just say it that way. And sometimes they know one slice of the swimming lane they should be in, and they can really go fast in that swimming lane. And if the pool is marketing and they know their swimming lane, occasionally they come out of their swimming lane and drown. And that's usually where marketers get bad reputations. That's where that's when it goes wrong, and that's when digital marketing doesn't work. So when you're meeting marketers that actually tell you the truth of what they do and what they can't do, like Matthew, you're going to get benefit from that. So shameless plug, go to youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted, subscribe, do the whole follow thing. We go live a lot. We do lots of cool guests. We do fun content. Check it out. And if you're listening to the podcast, thank you. It does mean a lot if you can just take a moment to do a 5-star review. It helps us get the mission, the word, and helps the guests get seen more. So enough of those shameless plugs. Let's go ahead and do this. Matthew, how are you doing today?
Good, and you? Happy day. Like every day is an amazing day in entrepreneurial land, right?
Every day is a day. Every day you're still an entrepreneur. You haven't quit, which is great. And you're in Atlanta?
I am.
You get double cool points.
A couple miles south of you, but still in hot Atlanta.
It might be a couple dozen.
Yeah.
For those who don't know, in Atlanta, there's inside the perimeter and outside the perimeter. And it's not like there's like any distinction with like cool factor. He just has more crime near him than I do. And that's really what I'm in suburbia. He's actually in a cool part of area, which, I think we moved here too late to kind of do that. With 3 little kids, it's just kind of like, no, we can't find what we need.
You guys have deer, and we have snakes in Piedmont Park, so it's all good.
You have snakes? I guess that's the only place they can be.
I don't know. I saw something on Instagram a couple weeks ago. There's snakes in Piedmont Park, like very large snakes. This is crazy. It's not supposed to be in Piedmont Park. It's supposed to be in like Everglades, not here.
Here's fine. So we live up north in Alpharetta, and we do have an incredible amount of deer. It's like it's there's too many. There's more deer than there are birds. I don't know how that's possible, but it is. I have yet to see a snake. We lived in this area of Atlanta just called Dunwoody. We saw a copperhead every other week. It seemed like. It's like, holy cow. Like, and so now we move up north. I feel like we're more in the woods. We're still just as close to like a little creek or something. And I don't see any snakes. So maybe the deer eat them. I have no idea.
Yeah.
Maybe a vicious deer. Deer started becoming carnivores. What a frightening creature. Let's market that. All right. Deer, the cannibal. Matthew, thank you, by the way. Do you want to take a few moments? I think that's a good enough icebreaker. I usually do some kind of silly thing. We can just plow through that one. You want to take a few minutes, set up your creds, make sure people know why they should listen to you?
Sure. So I've been practicing digital marketing for probably 15 plus years now. I like to say practicing because you're constantly learning, you're constantly testing and learning and trying out, and things that you did yesterday or last week or last year are surprised different now, and things are not always the same. So it's practice. It's not necessarily, yes, I know it. It's what I do for one client. It's not necessarily going to work for another. I think I know what's going to work. Let's try it out. Let's test it out. Let's investigate like a doctor does, and let's come up with a prognosis. This is what I should do. Come up with a game plan and just do it. So in terms of things I do a lot of SEO, a lot of Google ads, a lot of LinkedIn ads, strategy. I've got a fair amount of e-commerce, B2B, B2C, D2C clients. In terms of war stories, I work with some of the largest advertisers in the world, Apple Computer, 360i, ISG, spending tens of millions of dollars every month, and also some of the smallest. I've got a friend who does out of my neighborhood. He does Monday Consulting, and they don't spend so much because they don't need to. They just spend enough on email and some other things to generate the leads. So depending on where the client's needs are, I help a client guide them with the spend and targeting, things like that, so you get in front of the right people at the right time.
In the world of kind of, you're working, and we're going to talk about this like fiduciary marketer. Could you explain what that term means to me?
Yeah,
layman?
Absolutely. So this is a new term that I coined probably about 2 years ago, where I had a lot of clients coming to me, or actually prospective clients coming to me saying, I want to do Google ads. And I would say, why? And they're like, because I want to do Google ads. And I'm like, but why? What do you want to do with it? How's it going to help you? What are you trying to do? And they wouldn't know what they're doing. It's kind of like walking into a car dealership and saying, I want to blah, 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 whatever that is. And the dealership saying, okay, why? What do you want to do? What do you need? Well, I need a blah, blah, blah type of vehicle. And they just don't know it. They just want to buy it because they think it's cool. People have told them they need it. And they might not need it. It's like trying to walk into a dealership and buying a 30-seater bus. But you only have 3 kids. Why do you need the extra 27 seats? Yeah. It's some things like that. So that's a lot of where the fiduciary marketing came from. I've had experiences working for different agencies where I personally think that some of the agency model in terms of getting generating revenue is by charging a percentage of media, which I personally think that's not really so ethical, because the agency is both in charge of driving sales for the client, getting paid as a agency fee, and they're in charge of how much media gets spent. So for them, yeah, they're going to spend the whole media budget. For me, it's like, well, maybe not. You might not need it this month because it might not make sense.
So you're telling me you don't take money from clients if they try to give it to you? How not?
Yeah,
sorry. I'm joking, because most marketers, that's like, oh yeah, you need that. Like, and I think what you're describing is a relationship based way to market. And I think as I look for anything ever in our conversations, I have people, you're looking for that. Customers, entrepreneurs, people buying services, you're looking for someone who's actually looking to build a relationship and do good for you, as opposed to just kind of collect the next 90 days and go to the next client. And what you just described is somebody who's actually looking to be a partner versus a vendor.
Right. Yeah.
100%.
Exactly. And that's exactly the thing. Is like clients will come to me and say, I need this. And I'll say, well, Google ads for you is going to be expensive. You're in whatever industry it is. Here's the average CPCs. This is what the competition looks like. Your website landing page is not so great. It's going to cost you X number of grand to even get started and try it out. Do these things first. Here's the free advice. Here's the value add. And then come back to me and we'll investigate to see, do you need Google ads? or do you need SEO, whatever it is. Like one of my wife's friends is a nurse practitioner, and she started her business doing lab tests and doing IV treatments. And she's like, I want to hire you. I'm like, no, you're not going to hire me. Here are the 5 things you need to do. Do this really well, and then come back to me. I'll help you out with the stuff that you can't do, but this stuff you can do yourself. So it's helping people understand, like, not everything needs to be charged, not everything needs to be paid for. You don't need to hire people. Sometimes it's get the financial stuff done and then hire as needed.
Exactly. So if you think about your own journey, right? So how you built this company, how did you kind of, not everyone takes that kind of like high road path. And it's one of the reasons I have you on here, because like, I spoke and I love how you're doing it. And I cannot stress to anybody listening how hard it is really to find some actual, just people in general, but people specifically in marketing. I'm not trying to bash the industry of which I'm in, but there's a lot of people who don't care. They're just there to collect money, and they're full of smoke. And you really do take a concerted effort to care. Is that just in you, or is that something you had to develop, or did you just tell me, is that just the business model? Tell me how, because I think if more people could replicate that, marketing in general would have better perceptions.
I think it's definitely in me. Like the first agency I started was a startup agency, and I had a variety of different clients, and I knew that these were small businesses. They were doing maybe less than $1 million a year, which is not a lot for a small business with a website and inventory and stuff like that. So you had to care. You had to take care of that money that you're spending, the time that you're billing, making sure that whatever you're delivering in terms of results is the best quality possible. Any type of lead or sale the client was getting, this could make or break them. And yes, it's nice to keep the client for long term. And if you do a good job, theoretically, they'll stay on for longer. But in the end of the day, this is the client's livelihood. So that's the way I approach it. Even if it was silly things like watches or vacations or insurance, whatever it is, like you have to make sure that, are you doing what's right for the client? Because they're paying you, you're working on the bequest of the client, and not the other way around.
So walk me through your strategy. So you fill in the blank what your business is. If there, this is where there's a number of people watching and listening that have different kinds of businesses, from maybe I want to sell something, to have services, to whatever it is. Tell me the general strategy you apply to help them get to what you would call, and when you're saying digital marketing, you're really talking about ads and some content, and maybe define how you say digital marketing, because that is a broad term. So define that maybe, and then what is the strategy a company needs to take first, 1, 2, 3 steps?
Absolutely. So in terms of digital marketing, nowadays there's a lot of gray area, because I think a lot of marketing is combination of branding, advertising, digital marketing, promotion, PR. E-commerce, you name it, it's all like slapped together underneath one label called marketing. That's the first thing. So a lot of clients are like, oh yeah, I want digital marketing. Well, no, what you're actually trying to do is PR, because you're getting in front of people in the press and the media, and many agencies do that now. In terms of the first steps, the first step is a introductory call, kind of like you go to see a doctor. The doctor's gonna say what's wrong, and they'll start probing and testing and checking and all that. And that's what I do also. Look at the website, look at a competition, understand like what their pain points are. Where are they having issues? Where are their desires? Where are their dreams? What are their goals? What are they looking to get done? Not just like now, but then in a 30, 60, 90 day, 1 year time period. Some clients, it's even funny, ask them like, okay, well, if you don't know what your goals are, who are you looking at to determine your goals? Is there a competitor who has maybe a better website? Like, for example, you've got a podcast, and there are a lot of podcasts and YouTubers out there. You're probably looking at the other YouTubers like, oh, what are they doing? Why are they doing so well? Why are they so popular?
Actually, I wish I was smarter. I would. I just kind of doing my own thing. And
something that's good. I mean, wait. That's the best thing.
On that, because you just described a very good strategy. You should be looking at what other people are doing. And it depends on your goal of why you would do that. So if I'm looking to monetize a channel, I would not do business content, to be clear. I would not do entrepreneurial content that is, I'm already chasing 8% of YouTube and then a subsection of that even. And so it's like, I don't expect to get famous and rich from YouTube. It's not our plan. My plan is to meet people like you so I can understand what they do. So I can either invite you into the right community, or I can do something with our other company. For us, we use it as a way to meet people, build a community, top of funnel for a few of the other services we do. And I think that's important, because if I wanted to monetize it, I would go find videos of me smashing my face against a pool and doing it with, like, I don't know, a beer in my hand or something. I don't know. The point is whatever entertains YouTube. And I think that strategy is about the intent of why you use any of the social media or anything. Because I think a lot of times people tend to really overcomplicate it. And it's not needed. Like, because they've heard they need something, they're trying to do something, and then they get super thin and it sucks everywhere.
Right. Exactly.
Sorry, I'm gonna get off my pedestal. Let me just come off that and return the baton back to you on that one.
No, but I mean, that's exactly what it is. Like, just looking at the podcasts and the things that I follow on YouTube, no one out there has cut the tie off. I mean, no one has spoken about that. No one's.
I mean, it's a metaphor that really works.
But it completely works. No one's doing that. And it definitely makes sense. Everybody's is talking on their soapbox of this is what you should be doing. Well, maybe not. You know, there's a lot of ideas out there. I don't claim to say I know all it is in digital marketing, but I know a lot. And there's probably other people who say, no, you should do this instead. I know some amazing marketers who will probably take the inverse approach, and they'll approach clients with a cookie cutter model saying, here's what you need to do for a small business earning X and with a budget of Y. And that works for some clients. For me, it doesn't. Other clients, I've seen agencies approach it with, here's our minimums and this is how it works, and take it or leave it, because they've got enough business coming through the door. They don't have to adjust their models, and they're not looking to take everybody.
And I think not knowing, just know it's out there. Not knowing that we don't take everybody either. So like even today, like literally right before you and I talked, somebody that I got to know in the last few weeks at it's a reality TV show called The Blocks, but we spent a lot of time together, and he was like, hey, I really need help with Google and digital ads. And I was like, listen, I wish I could take your money for this, but I'm 100% sure I'm going to need to refer you to somebody who actually knows it, because like I wouldn't know. And so, and the point being is, that's where I think, and that's, to me, that's an easy one. I have know nothing about Google ads, but there's a lot of people who might know something about Facebook ads, and they come out of their bounds a little bit. They're like, oh no, we can do that. We understand ads, copywriting. Like, tell me about that moment, because you probably could do it, and you probably could spend a weekend getting through Google enough to know more than your client. But do you ever take that risk, or what do you do there? Because there's a lot of people who just fall apart there, and a lot of agencies and a lot of then customers who get burnt. What do you do in that no BS moment of, do I take this on and go learn this skill and take the risk, or do you refer it, or what's your strategy on that one?
That's a great question. I've seen a lot of potential clients nowadays say, oh, I want TikTok. And I don't really know TikTok because I just don't use it. I know Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn and all these others, and I've used them for years. So I know how the system works. I think for the right type of client, what they're trying to do, I would probably take on a new ad platform. I've seen a lot of ad platforms. They're all very similar. It's sort of like the difference between driving different vehicles, like a Honda versus a Chrysler versus a Nissan. They're similar in terms of the way they work. The ad strategy, marketing strategy is the same. It's just, where's that button? What does it do? And now with Google, everything's Googleable. So even if you don't know an answer, like even Facebook or Google, they change their ad interface pretty frequently. So sometimes something pops up, it's like, what is that? So I Google it. And I think in today's world, you're not supposed to know everything. You're just supposed to know how to use that machine to accomplish the goal. Like if I want to go up the 400 to meet you in person, I would turn on my car machine and drive. But it doesn't matter what the car machine label is. It's both going to get me there. And I think the same is with the ad systems.
What's some trends going on right now? I've heard of a few. I'd rather hear you introduce them, because I'm doing it secondhand and you're living it day to day. What are some of the biggest trends going on within the kind of pay-per-click world, either it be Meta or Google or even TikTok or wherever else, like or LinkedIn? It's probably the one you know. What's one of the biggest trends that you're kind of looking at going, wow, that's different?
I think the biggest trends, if you were to rank them in terms of wow factor, is one, the legal aspect. I've got a number of clients that have started implementing cookie policies and GDPR and all this other stuff, because there's a lot of pressure from the legal field of lawyers suing small businesses, medium businesses because of the advertising practices. And I think that's going to continue in earnest. I don't think there's enough data there. until it reaches a crescendo. And then the press will be like, oh my goodness, everyone's getting sued because of ads. I mean, Google got sued. I see a lawsuit now in place for Google's Chrome incognito mode and other stuff. Meta, Facebook got sued. They've lost. I think that's going to go down the path, and it's going to continue. I think the next big thing is zero click. Rand Fishkin promoted this many years ago. He released something a couple months ago about this is becoming a bigger thing than people really anticipate. And that goes directly into attribution, which is people see your ads or click on your ads or whatever it is, and no one knows how they're getting to your website and converting. The classic story is you're driving down the 85 and you see a billboard that says drink Coke, and you are listening to the radio, it says drink Coke, and you check your social media, it says drink Coke, and you open up a magazine, whatever those things are anymore, and it says, drink a Coke, and you go out to lunch with a friend and it's on the menu has Coke. What are you going to drink? So the obvious story is, technologically speaking, you're going to drink a Coke, but where did that come from? So some agencies will say, oh yeah, it's from that magazine because that was the last touch. But other agencies, know it's between all those things, all those visual touch points. And that's a zero click because you didn't actually click on any of those. There's no feedback loop back to the Coca-Cola about you seeing that. And that's huge. That I see now with clients, especially when you're running multi-channel, like you don't know where the leads are coming from. I see the other one.
I think that's important to know, because I think it's one thing to do your cost of acquisition, your CAC, so your acquisition cost for the customer. It's hard to know that. If you don't know that, it's hard to know which faucet to turn on faster or turn off.
Yeah, it's hard.
You don't know it is hard. So the experiments become, hey, let's turn off Facebook ads and see if your revenue turns down, right? And becomes, let's turn off Google ads and and that's, and you also don't know then the cycles of, was that the 10th touch or 28th touch at that point? Is there an argument to be made? It doesn't matter. It just get the long-term gross profit higher than that CAC and do your best, given that it's always changing, to just hit value, do it right. Or do you have to have those attribution metrics to do it well?
I think perfect attribution like we had a bunch of years ago is impossible nowadays because of the lack of data. I think the better clients that work better are going after the hybrid holistic approach of, we need to be wherever the client is or potential client is, and we're going to do brand and non-brand and product-based and service-based, whatever it is we need to do in all those channels all the time. And hybrid based, holistically look at it and say, across all these things, are we making money or we're not? And are we there where our clients are? And I mean, that's the best you can do right now.
I mean, like, let's say, I think LinkedIn has a reputation to be very expensive.
Yeah.
I've heard Meta's gone up in price too. Now, LinkedIn can be very targeted, but I also think they give you some more attribution of, here's your, they've clicked the link.
Correct. But also the data's in there because it's a closed ecosystem, it's a closed community. And I can see, oh yeah, a radio host from Alpharetta looks at my profile and that shows up in the ads.
And so when you do that, right, and I think this comes down to what I was going with, your activation or your lead gen form or whatever your call to action you're getting into, the more native maybe you can put it to the system that's closed, the more data you're going to get if that was effective to get them there. You're going to have your brand, your creation, your value creation, all the other things that you need to go do to keep people informed and aware of the problem they have and the things that could solve it if they aren't unaware. But if you get outside that closed, even Google, you go to Google a page with the Google Analytics, it's somewhat closed. Like they know it, it's there. It's when you kind of like bounce people out and you lose it. And if you haven't done it right with a UTM source or something else. So maybe just general strategy, like, do you recommend people go, like small, let's say solopreneur, less than $1 million a year revenue, like what most businesses are. Are you saying, listen, where they're how do you figure out where their customer is? And then do you go omni-channel or just like go all in on Meta for a while and just, what's the strategy for that smaller business?
I would say it depends. A lot of it depends on who they are, how much money they have, what their lead is worth to them, where their goals are, what they're trying to do. And a lot of it depends. It's really hard to say. I've worked with some service companies, and for them, Meta may or may not be right. Maybe it's Google Maps or maybe it's Google Ads. I don't know. Just depends on what it is. In terms of omni-channel, sometimes it's omni-channel, sometimes it's not. If you're going after females, then it's Instagram or maybe Facebook. If you're going after a younger demographic, maybe it's TikTok or something else, or maybe Instagram. It's really hard to say.
So
There's,
on all
there's
those
no
things,
one model. That's the basic thing.
well, and I think that's the point I think I'm also
Yeah.
trying to make is you need to find someone who can think through that with you. And your budget is a big piece of that. So if you can only afford a few $100s a month, the idea is maybe you go do a free class yourself, learn as best you can, and minimize your management costs and maximize your ad costs you can learn from the experiments you're running, right? When you have a few $1,000s a month, all of a sudden you can hire professionals to come in and they can make their ROI on that because there's enough ad budget, enough for them to make a living, and also enough for them to go, hey, listen, this is working, I'm tweaking, and here's your ROI 90 days later. So that budget is one. And second, understanding where their customers are. Do you have a way to decipher that out of people? Like you may know some or certain industries or, doctors, you got to be in person. They may be at Meta at best. They're not on LinkedIn, vice versa. If you're trying to get to people trying to get jobs, you're going to go to LinkedIn, less Meta probably. So how do you decipher and pull out from your customers, or how should they be thinking before they meet with somebody like you? This is how you figure out where your people are.
They really need to know their industry. They really need to know where they are, who their people are, who they're trying to target. A classic great story was when I first moved to Atlanta in 2003, I was Dr. Roof's marketing consultant. And David was a very astute marketer. He wasn't marketing by training, but he was marketing because he ran a business. And he understood where the customers are. He understood in certain parts of North Atlanta when there was a hailstorm, we would just go crazy. We would put out flyers and get in front of people in certain neighborhoods. We'd do whole neighborhoods at a time. Google actually released their pay-per-click system around that time, and I showed it to him, and he's like, this is crazy. I'm not going to pay per click. For him, it was getting in front of the homeowners person by person. If you do any local services, I think direct mail is still an amazing thing. Not sticking business cards to mailboxes, but actually sending someone a flyer in the mail with your value proposition. Look at Maslow's hierarchy. Someone has a home, you have to make them feel the fear, uncertainty, doubt of, are you taking care of your roof? Did you hire the right roofer? Are you doing the right thing for your roof? Does your roof need an inspection? Is it going to leak? All that stuff. Showing your credentials of we're licensed, we've been in Atlanta for X number of years, we know our stuff, we've done X number of thousands of roofs, we're certified by the roofing shingle companies, all that stuff. We were BBB certified, and all that provides that value add for that customer. And I think that applies to all the businesses. If you're selling watches online, you want to have some type of certification. Funny enough, I was working for a watch company back in 2009, and there was a research study that was released. I don't remember which company released it, but they basically did an A/B split test between people searching for different products. And when they landed on a website, if the website had a known badge like Norton or one of the Symantec or some of these other badges, the chances that they would convert on that website was something crazy like 40% higher than it was a generic badge. I think that was 15% versus nothing. So people need that stuff. It still goes back to, you need to know your people. If you're spending $2,000 on a watch, you want to know you're buying it from an authentic place. If you're going to re-roof your house and is spending a couple $100 there, $1,000, depending on what your needs are, you need to know your roofer's going to do a good job. And your roofer needs to get in front of the right people. If your roofer is aiming to go for big roofs and big houses, like they have in Alpharetta, you want to get in front of the right neighborhoods. And you don't want to just pick and choose like anybody comes to you. You want to go for the bigger gigs. So there is no rhyme or reason for everything. You have to custom do it. You have to know your audience. You have to test and learn. You have to look and see who's out there, what else they're doing. I've seen some industries where there's just not a lot of competition. It just depends on what the industry is.
Let me ask you. So, in the roofing industry is a good example, right? You got to know they're good. There's a lot of sketch balls in that one too. From your perspective, when you're doing it, do you only focus as an agency on the PPC stuff, or do you incorporate the referral mechanisms behind that, the reviews and other stuff when you're approaching a client? And I guess I'm taking the perspective of, if I'm a owner of a company and I'm trying to hire somebody, how far do I take a company? So am I looking for the PPC guy like you, and then do you also do reviews, or do I find somebody else, or what's your kind of, because those things are all tied together because to be successful. So what's your advice, I guess, to entrepreneurs when you're doing digital marketing of who to hire and how? Because I think this is where sometimes it goes wrong.
No, absolutely. And I think that it goes wrong from two different sides, from the business owner thinking they know what they want, and from the agency thinking they know what the business owner should do. And there is no right reason to right answer for this. I think from the business owner, they have to figure out how do they get in front of the right clients, how do they prove their credentials and do all that stuff. And every business is different. If you're a local service business, then it's probably going to be Google My Business and maybe Meta and Google Ads. If you're a B2B company with a SaaS software, then you're not going to do Facebook. You'll do LinkedIn. You're not going to do Google My Business because no one's looking to come meet you in person. Everything's virtual. Probably SEO with content, probably PR and marketing, maybe Google Ads. If you're selling D2C men's products, definitely Facebook, definitely Instagram, YouTube, definitely Google Ads. Google My Business and Maps, probably not. You don't want to meet anybody. You're selling stuff direct to the consumer. You don't want them to come to your office because you don't have anything to vend there. So there's nothing is one formula fits every business. Everything is custom. And also going back to the previous question, depends on your cost and your CAC and your value of your goods and where you're selling and all this stuff and how much a lead is worth. And it might not make sense doing Facebook. It might make more sense going to a local print shop and saying, here's my flyer. Can you just print 1,000 of these and mail them to these neighborhoods?
Right. No, I agree. So I think sometimes the most effective flyers are the ones I get in the mail, although most of the time they go from mailbox to trash. But that one time your, long guy didn't show up, or you see 15 cockroaches in the night. If you're in Georgia, by the way, just happens. They come out, they start mating. You're like, good God, where do these things come from? Like, I keep my house clean. Sorry, just you're in Georgia, you get it.
Exactly.
But that's when you're like, I need a nude exterminator.
And that's exactly the psychological component where you have to touch it before you throw it out. And
100%.
that's huge. And the time, how long does it take you to go from the mailbox to your house and throw that flyer out?
Usually I'm thinking to myself, is there a list I can get on so no one sends me anything ever? Because the only thing that shows up are bills, right? And like, even then I'm like, why am I getting a printed copy of this as opposed to just, So to me, it's just like an exercise to go get things from the. What I get the mailbox is when I trash day, when I just go and the recycle is right there. It just goes from the mailbox over. It's easy. Anyway, listen. This time I always ask the guest this: like, who generally do you want to work with? Like, or not generally, who specifically do you want to work with? Why and how should they get a hold of you?
I like working with grateful clients. I like working with people who understand the value proposition of working with a professional with a lot of experience. And that can mean a lot of different things. You're just not looking for a Fiverr or an Upwork. You're looking for someone who has deep knowledge of helping people. In terms of how to get a hold of me, email address is on the screen, LinkedIn. Those are probably the best ways to get a hold of me. And just, I've worked with a lot of different clients over the years. It's probably very few industries I've not worked with. I've worked with most, everything from insurance to ag tech to hospitality, crypto, insurance, like personal and business, automobile, tires. Haven't done ties yet. Have done women's apparel. I've done watches.
There's a tie anymore.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
The irony is I've worn more ties in the show, cut than I ever did working, which is funny because I actually wear a tie all day now, which is I find a bit ironic, but I like irony. It's fun.
Yeah. I should have brought a cut.
Your superpower, if someone's like, listen, I don't really know if you can, is it Facebook ads? Like, Meta better than anyone on the planet kind of thing? What would be your superpower?
I'd say SEO and Google ads, combining the two together is powerful. I did a really cool project with a really large client a couple of years ago where we ran an SEO exercise and we pulled data from Google Search Console and Google Ads and mash it together to figure out, oh yeah, they're spending X million dollars on brand. Let's pull back on brand, save them some money because their SEO is so strong.
Let me ask you. So, what's the give it? Let's give a listicle. What's the top 3 things never to do in digital marketing?
I say number 1 is don't go cheap. Number 2 is understand what you're buying and why. And number 3 is pretend it's like your house, and every couple of years you have to paint it and you have to take care of re-roofing it and sweeping and landscaping and all that stuff. And that's the same on the digital. You refresh your website probably every 2 to 3 years. You update your ad copy every month. All that regular stuff needs to happen.
I like that. When you say don't go cheap, are you saying don't underinvest on an ad experiment because you can't really get enough data to figure out if it works or not?
I mean, don't go cheap in terms of don't hire somebody just because of price. Hire somebody because you understand what they're actually delivering. Like, would you go and get a surgery done at a facility because it's $99 where everything locally across the board is $1,000? Probably not. You know,
Yeah,
would you drive your car to an unlicensed car shop where the guy just shows up and changes the oil and lets it drain into the street? Probably not. You're looking for trouble.
Yeah, that's a good way to say it.
Yeah.
For sure. So the idea is make an investment versus actually you're describing make an investment versus have a cost.
Correct.
If you look at the rule is the guy who pays the least usually pays at least twice.
Yeah.
So, and the brand record stuff downstream. I absolutely love this. If there was one question I probably should have asked you today and I didn't, what would that question have been?
I would say chocolate or vanilla. What's your
Vanilla.
favorite? So my daughters bake, and that's the big underlying point of that question. And my daughter bakes a lot of chocolate stuff and a lot of vanilla stuff, and that's the 2 main flavors I think that people choose.
What do you choose in that one?
I would choose chocolate. What would you choose?
Are we talking milk or dark or super dark?
She doesn't do dark. It's just like regular chocolate.
Yeah. See, in that case, I pick vanilla.
Okay.
If it's dark chocolate, milk chocolate just feels too sugary.
Yeah.
Isn't that weird? But so this is a really good, interesting marketing part. Think about this. Someone like me, you're like, oh, we're gonna get them. He loves chocolate, but I like dark chocolate. And if it's not dark chocolate, I'd actually prefer vanilla. And so it's like if they just have regular chocolate ice cream, I'm like, I'll just do the vanilla or something, some version of that. Isn't that funny? Like when you don't know like the nuance of this is like where ads really matter, right? This is when you start looking into data. If you use that kind of metaphor of when you're doing digital marketing, you have to understand your customer, I think, that well to really be effective. Right. You have to understand that it's not they like chocolate, like dark chocolate. And most people like dark chocolate only like vanilla is otherwise because they really just don't like milk chocolate. That kind of idea, I think, with digital marketing applies. I think when you're, trying to select somebody who can help you dissect your audience, because selecting the audience, I think, is more than half the battle.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can't people can't pick pet owners when the ones you just picked were cat owners when you sell a dog product, right? It's right. Like you gotta go one more layer down.
Right.
More.
Exactly. And just because you enjoy ice cream doesn't mean to say you're gonna like sprinkles with chocolate or whatever the flavor is. You want the dark chocolate or you want the vanilla, nothing else. And that's segmentation at its best.
Exactly. And so I love that. Once again, you want people to get a hold of you through is it ML Silverman with one N at the end at gmail.com
exactly.
for those listening.
Yep.
And LinkedIn.com/N, and it's Matthew, 2 T's. So MATTEWSILV. When he was doing that, he's like, you know what? I'm not going to write the whole thing out. I'm not going to do it.
Cut me off.
He does.
Yeah.
I like when someone's like, it's like they have a unique name and then they put a number like 484 on it. And you're like, was there really 483 other ones? They're like, no, that was my area code. I'm like, why not just shoot? Anyway, it's fun to me when people.
Yeah. No, I started on LinkedIn before they allowed people to have long names, and when they gave
now they're all taken, right?
Yeah, now they're all taken. They gave me a customization option. I'm like, oh, let me just try this, and eventually, like, all right, why don't you do this one? I'm like, fine.
I did. I'll leave this. When you guys do your social media and you set it up out there, anyone, take effort to know that 10 years from now you might have a different view on it. So when I did my Facebook for personal, I didn't put my name. I put a Slovak word that translates to poop. And so now I'm stuck with it, which is still funny to me because that's what my license plate says as well. But anyway, it's funny. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on today. I appreciate your insights. And listen, if you guys need some, I assume when they email you or set up time with you, you'll do like a 30 minutes to kind of get to know them for free and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
Yeah. Reach out if you have some ideas around Google SEO. You have tons of experience in meta ads. If you're just trying to figure out the strategy, I think Matthew's a great guy to come start with. Easy to talk to. He'll shoot you straight for sure. And I truly believe you're not going to just go like, say yes to everything. I think like some people would. He's not going to do that. He's going to tell you what you need to do. Matthew, thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
You too. I'll put you in the periwinkle room. We'll be right back. Everyone, listen, thank you so much for watching, listening. Our mission's clear. Let's help entrepreneurs get better at entrepreneurship by cutting the tide, all the crap that holds you back. If you have questions, reach out. Go to youtube.com/@neverbeenpromoted. Give it a follow, like. I appreciate everyone listening. Get out there. Go unleash your entrepreneur.